Okay.
All right, guys. So this was the secret I've been kind of hinting on social media. As you guys know, the Alliance blog has been following Wrestling Alliance for well over 13 years, and joining is none other than the Vice President of the National Wrestling Alliance, David Lagana. David, welcome to the show.
Hello. I appreciate the cash payment to do this. Payola is a big thing in the 50s, and I'm happy to continue it now. So,
well, yeah, and they make it so easy now with Venmo and Cash Me app and all that good stuff. I don't even have to use PayPal anymore. I can just Venmo it to you.
Well, and I'm a big subscriber to your OnlyFans, which is, it gets real dark there after hours. Anyway, so you're welcome. You're welcome for that.
Thanks. I got a chuckle out of it. So, hey, you guys have been doing a thing called NWA Power now for a couple of weeks, and you have to be very happy with the reaction you're getting. Tell me about the process that you day in and day out go through to make this show happen. I mean, I was there in Atlanta. I saw you guys film the show. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into after the production, and honestly, I don't know how you guys do it week in and week out, producing this show as well as it comes out.
Well, I guess let me ask you, because you were there, what you saw with your own eyes, how does it match what the final product became?
I'll be honest, a lot of it looks like it came right out of the studio. It doesn't look like you guys had to do a whole lot of editing. There's a few things that I've noticed that were tweaked and you added your own thing to it or cleaned it up because of something that didn't look right. Obviously, the match that was kind of eliminated from the show, and a few of the promos were a little different, and I think it kind of added to the story, kind of added value to the program. But for the most part, it feels like the show is a very direct representation of what was happening in the video.
Yeah, the things that didn't air, the match that we edited out for 110 different reasons, that everybody had their own pontification of where, how, the crazy part is people were first, when we announced the tapings, well, where's it going to air? And it was like, what's your TV network? Which is funny, is that discussion has stopped. Nobody asks now, because guess what? They realized, wow, how easy is this? Which was like the opposite of getting on Anchor here. Like how easy it is to watch the show anywhere. And so like that question went away. And then it was, Billy and I conceived this show in a vacuum, produced it in a vacuum. We kept it very much under wraps as far as nobody knew the name until the day we recorded. Nobody knew how they could watch it until the day it was recorded. And then we were able to turn it in a week, which was insane. And we're even to turn this taping. We're going to shoot on Sunday and turn for Tuesday. So it's, I like to torture us into getting it done, but nobody knew. So, and even the debut episode, nobody had access to it until air. The only people who saw it were Billy, me, and then Nick Aldous. I showed on my phone, but didn't send a link because I wanted people to be blown away, because I knew that the first episode, you were there. The first episode, if you just read the spoilers, it didn't feel the same. And I think the interesting part, all the pictures and everything that the fans put out was from the seats out. You did, and you saw the set, but nobody saw the other way, which to me was the secret sauce of, you kind like all the pictures from the interview set were kind of like the ring was in the way, or you never got the full feeling. That explosion that happened, we took people by surprise. And, I've seen a lot of think pieces about the dwindling of our ratings, which they're not ratings, they're views. And if you know how to use YouTube or how YouTube works, you'll look at the success of it against just, well, they're down. What do you mean we're down? Like we're building an audience. We started at 82,000 subscribers and are now at 160. It took us 2 years to go from 0 to 80. And in 6 weeks, we went from 80 to 160. And our channel, little YouTube lesson for those who are not YouTube savvy, a guy like Peter McKinnon, who's the easiest example, I think he has like 4 million subscribers. Even Casey Neistat, who has 10 million subscribers. Their average video view is, so Peter McKinnon's on 4.4 million subscribers, his average video view is 400,000. We're at 160,000 subscribers. but all of our episodes now, minus the very controversial, always planned to be holiday episode, is over 200,000. And I think the one with the rock and roll eventually will get there.
For sure.
Again, at 160,000 subscribers. So we figured out a way to build interest around a time slot and then just sort of ride the YouTube wave on views, and built a real community. And like you and this is the NWA guys, and then the Wrestle Days guy who we found on the first show, like that guy had never watched our product before that day. So it was like, it's been fascinating to find people discovering the show. And then obviously, we went from being this unknown to a giant success to, my favorite line was, well, they killed it, it's over. Which in the world of hyperbole, I mean, you may not like it, but we've done very, very healthy pre-order buys, as I've told you in public. And I'm actually just going to refresh right now. Let's see. Yep. We're selling somewhere between 6 and 12 pay-per-views an hour, which is nothing to sneeze at on a pre-order. We're right now at 3 times the amount of pre-orders we had for NWA 70, which was Cody and Nick off of All In. And that pre-order number that we had was the day before the event. So, we're already at a 3-time multiple on pre-orders for that event for NWA Into the Fire. And Crockett Cup is hard to measure because it was on regular pay-per-view and Honor Club. So I never really it's hard to kind of gauge how many people really watched or bought. So, we're going to smash both of those numbers. We'll probably smash NWA 70 by Wednesday, just based on the numbers I'm looking at. Obviously there's a pre-order price at this point, but
sure,
we're very happy because as you being the OG, you and I first met and talked the first day that I brought Tim Storm, when all of the old school NWA promoters, I won't even say old school, the last regime NWA promoters thought we were bringing Tim out to California to beat him, which was hilarious. You've been with us since day one of this regime. And, the first 2 years we built very slowly, had a very loyal audience, but ultimately an explosion happened. We have all these new viewers that are enjoying it and supporting us. And it's really great. And seeing, getting an email or a notification every time we sell a Waffles and Tire Irons t-shirt, it's great that people are really enjoying this product in a way that, again, we did the show with no understanding of how people would really love it. So, so it's really been interesting to dive into it. So it's been really interesting, and we're only going to expand with obviously Circle Squared, and we have 2 other SKUs that will be debuting in the next cycle, and we're going to continue to advance our content plans to be completely different than what people expect from us.
So you just said a lot of information there.
Of course I did. Of course. But
there's a lot to digest there. But let's first talk about Into the Fire, because this is the first pay-per-view that actually has a weekly episodic television pushing towards it. 10 Pounds of Gold obviously really did push the NWA 70th anniversary show, and also the Crockett Cup, and even the New Year's Clash. But this was the first pay-per-view that you guys are producing that led directly through it with that episodic television.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of numbers are you projecting, or is that stuff that you're not going to make public?
There is a number we need to hit, that if we hit X number, the entire so let's go back to the beginning of Power, because Power is fueling it. It is the Power.
Right.
Billy said at the press conference, which you were at, that this model is not sustainable, which Dave Meltzer picked up and said was true. And we at the launch point, yes, shooting the cost of GPB and talent for a YouTube show. And if you just think, oh, YouTube ad money, no, it is not solely YouTube ad money is not enough to pay for what this is. But in a combination of ticket sales, which again, the first round you were there, I think it was about 170 people average each night, in the room. Well, we're sold out. So we sold, instead of 300 tickets, we sold 750 across 3 days. We actually sold less VIP, so the actual we took less money in ticket sales to fill the building. Ticket sales, merch. Our multiple on merch from where we started in February when we just had an eBay store to where we're at now is a 6 or 7 times multiple per month. We've grown the brand, and basically Billy's point is, let's see how we can be sustainable. So there's a number on the pay-per-views. If we hit the number that the pay-per-view alone fuels the entire run of the taping, which means that at that point, everything else is profit that would go back into the company. So, so the goal is to create as the best version of our pay-per-view as we can. And obviously the road's been a little rocky the last couple of weeks, but, to see this pre-sale number, it's a number that I think a lot of people will go, I would take that. And Fight is very happy. We just sold another one right now, so what's great is that people are making a decision 10 days in advance. What's the average when people buy pay-per-view? Day of. I can buy the pay-per-view as it's going on. So for us to be able to have a very loyal audience of X number of people that made the commitment now, and again, this wasn't a traditional build, meaning, the three-way that was cut out, a decision was made based upon storyline and also execution that we felt, and James Storm isn't wrong. James believes that we don't feature him enough. I've had many discussions. Eli gets more attention. Nick gets more attention. And, the interview he cut on the show is a lot more truth than I think people realize. And, going back to our TNA days. And so, we're leaning into the meta of this show a little bit. And, I saw your comments about, well, the match was really good. And one day off recording, I'll tell you what happened. And, the mystery of it, I think, is more interesting than the execution. So of the match. And, in a world where we're questioned on what's edited and what's not, I think it kind of took people by surprise because everyone thought we were going to edit Cornette out, which we didn't. And Jim's actually probably talking about it on his podcast this week. So it's been funny. I call it like hyperbole and hot takes. Man, there have been my favorite hot take, minus the guy that sent a tweet that is one day I'll post that's just so deplorable and stupid and shows that there's a reason that some people have Twitter accounts and not successful lives. Because like some of the dumbest crap I've ever seen said. One person said WWE must be paying Lagana to destroy this brand. And by the way, multiple people have said it. I haven't worked for WWE in 10 years, never called them for work. I'm literally the only person they haven't brought back from the last 20 years.
Right.
So it's just people have a hyperbole and hot takes. And again, for a show that was created in a vacuum 9 weeks ago, and we wanted to see what the market would bear. And we're a lot further along, and obviously we have a lot of work to do to continue to build.
So you're jumping all over the place because all this stuff I want to talk to you about, but I guess we can get to it when we get to it. The second thing, you just kind of, I'm trying to keep up on all these notes. We talked about the creation of new content, new videos. Yep. Obviously, what the bread and butter for the first 2 years of the NWA was the 10 pounds of gold.
Yep.
And that's kind of taken a back seat to the to NWA Power. Obviously, is that going to change in the future, or is this kind of how the new model is, where Power is the main focus, and if there's time, there will be 10 pounds of gold?
10 pounds is for super fights. So all we did for the first 2 years was super fights. There will be some version of 10 pounds for this week. Like I've already shot James Storm interview. I shoot Nick's today at some point. And, it'll be their story. But if you go look at the numbers 10 pounds did versus Power, it's 20-1. Right. So, 10 pounds takes 20 times the work. And so, I love the series. I don't want to say it was our bread and butter, but it was the car that got us here. But
Absolutely.
Obviously the audience spoke with their views because they want traditional wrestling. And so I think, 10 pounds, the Thunder Rosa piece, I guess technically could have been considered a 10 pounds. And boy, I've never seen people have such a hot take on a documentary inside of Power. I mean, and I know some of them were trolling and spamming because it's what they do with their time. they were like, oh, this is so boring. Well, obviously you're not watching it, because I was there, and there's probably 30 minutes on the floor that I couldn't air because of sensitivity. Rosa goes into real detail on a lot of stuff that I didn't think was appropriate for that piece, but man, her story is fascinating. And so like that style is never going away. It's just how we execute it. But so anyway.
Speaking of Thunder Rosa, and I'm going to just try to jump around with you because I think this is probably a little bit more fun. Speaking of Thunder Rosa, the reaction that she's been getting, not only from that live studio audience, but the reaction that we're seeing now on people who've watched the show on Twitter, on Facebook, she's becoming quite the star. Someone actually told me, and I don't know if this is true or not, you could dispel it now or confirm or deny, whatever, that she was actually offered a contract off that first night of television to be a regular member of the roster.
Well, so we had an agreement in place for a certain number of dates. We had negotiated, her deal got upgraded drastically. So everyone was on certain, but yeah, she got a better deal based upon performance. And a lot of people have done that. Camille got a better deal off of her first run of stuff. We reward people that work well with us. And, same with Alison Kay, Ricky Starks, Royce and Tom. We have a very good roster of people that really want to grow with us. And, it's been interesting because we're trying to create a whole new ecosystem here. And, every company's got a different trajectory, and people think we're nuts on many reasons. And they are not in this every day. I spend probably 16 hours a day on this. And I love everybody's hot takes. You have no idea what's going on here, and in a good way. Like this is so bootstrapped, so building the plane as we fly, because anybody can throw a lot of money around and just pay for a lot of people that will then become quickly lazy because they know their money's guaranteed. We're working to get this ecosystem up so that this is sustainable, and the fact that this show. If we get where we need to go, and ultimately entertain fans and give them something completely different, the people said pay-per-view was dead because paying $50, okay, the pay-per-view is not $50, it's $19 or $24, and we'll see if we pull together an event that people value. But I think you've been to all of our. You didn't come to Crockett Cup, but you watched it. All of our shows have been very good. We haven't had stinker.
I was at Crockett Cup. I wasn't at the New Year's.
Okay, that's right. So exactly. So, but like Crockett Cup, I think surprised people. So hold on one second. But we've delivered, because guess what? I've done wrestling for 19 years. It's like the people still hang on to some weird warped perception of stuff, and it's their world. They can. I love wrestling, but I also don't go in too deep into things that don't entertain me or I don't want to watch. So, well, careful, monkey. My cat just did a plunge. By the way, that was my favorite part of the taping, people asking about Monkey, which was hilarious. So, and just, today is Monkey's anniversary, as you may not have seen. I adopted Monkey a year ago today. I was originally going to name him Dynamite, but I decided to stick with Monkey. So, because today is also the anniversary of Dynamite Kid passing. So,
Yes.
And I'm a huge Dynamite Kid fan, but Monkey, the phrase "not my circus, not my monkey," is the best way I live my life. Every time somebody goes, "Well, what do you think about what WWE's doing?" Not my circus, not my monkey. It's like people put a lot of time and energy into things they can't control. You and I've had this conversation multiple times. You can only work on what you can control. So that's why Monkey is named Monkey. So.
And it's very appropriate for the life that you're living right now.
Yeah, he acts more like a monkey than a cat. So,
well, then that's even more apt, right?
Yeah.
So, getting on with the show and talking more about the growth of the NWA. You and I were in China. Yeah, I'm gonna name drop that. I was there with you, and we were talking about All In, and this was still in its infancy. There wasn't a whole lot of steam talking about that show yet, and I don't think anyone could have predicted how successful that show was going to be and how that would launch a new wrestling promotion out of it. Mm-hmm. Nick Aldous' involvement, the NWA World Title, your involvement producing material for both the Nightmare family and for the 10 Pounds of Gold. What did that do to push the NWA, and how did that affect the 20-year plan?
I think it was sort of proof of concept that we could. So dating back to even the first meeting that Billy and I had after leaving Impact was with Ring of Honor to pitch content ideas. And this was prior to 30 days. We wanted to basically become sort of like an agency for talents, like a management company. And Drew Galloway, honestly, was going to be the first client. We were going to basically, and ultimately it sort of has become what the NWA was for the first 2 years. We were going to put certain talents under certain deals and then work to create content to build a brand around that talent and execute that plan. So, for example, Drew Galloway's documentary was the pilot for what would become 10 Pounds of Gold. Obviously, we didn't, at the time of when I was shooting, my hope was to announce the NWA purchase that weekend at WrestleMania. And I didn't know, obviously, that Drew was going to WWE until that day that it happened. And, he I had full rights to the footage. I even offered it to WWE for their world, and they did not want it, which is fine. So I put it out leading into his title match at whatever. And, the plan was always this about, so when All In came up and we had executed 10 pounds, we had gone to China. But at the time when we went to China, it wasn't finalized. And I don't know when you found out or when we talked about it, but the first salvo in this was fired. Like Cody has always kind of been, in touch with this stuff. He liked it. And obviously he saw the benefit of working with us, and he really did enjoy the content we created. And I felt like, I've enjoyed a lot of what he's done, with his channel since then, but I think at times it was helpful to have a third party, helping produce him, because I think I got a lot more authenticity in that moment. Obviously, it was an emotionally charged moment with his father and the belt, and and for us, it was a no-brainer, and ultimately, and for Nick, it was further confirmation, because at that time he had already done the match with Tim, he had done the match with Cabana, had done the match with Crimson, he had some high-profile matches. The one in China was really, I think you and I were both there, and it was, at times I didn't even know if we were having a show. I was like, what are we doing over here? But ultimately, there were 3,000 people there, but the way they sold the tickets, they were scattered. You couldn't really tell. There was a good amount. The best part, and I don't think you were with us, of a guy trying to scalp tickets to us of the show we were putting on in that McDonald's at the Walmart. So it was just
you were telling me that later, yeah.
So it was just like, I'm like, we're running the show. Nick's sitting there, or Cabana was sitting there. He goes, I'm on the poster. And he tries to sell tickets, and I'm just like, oh god! Like I have videos of Cabana in that Walmart that was underneath it, and there was just like chicken heads. It was very surreal. It was a very surreal trip. But anyway, Nick has really proven himself, and doing business the right way, and then coming back with NWA 70, and he's been the standard bearer, and he has carried forward that same. And I did an interview yesterday. In a world where there are so many title belts, and even fans have belts, even, our good friend Jay-Z Flair has the Bojangles belt. Everyone's got a belt, but what are they all worth? And ours has been sort of, we've invested in making that one most valuable. Yes, we've added other belts. And, my favorite belt tweets, because everyone's like, well, when are you going to bring back the Missouri Italian middleweight, or the brass knuckles title, or the TV title, or this or that? And everyone wants more, but I've yet to have anybody really explain to me why more is better. And so for our focus on Nick and the world title has been very important to the brand. And, whoever is the guy that dethrones him at some point will be really made. And I think I couldn't tell you the last 5 WWE champions. Just can't. I used to be able in 1998 or 2000 or even 2002, I could name them forwards and backwards. And in wrestling, where the conflict is what it is, there needs to be value to the conflict.
Absolutely. And speaking of the value, I've been following the NWA very closely, and you and I, you said, I've been a part for this regime, and you and we actually met for the second time during that 10 Pounds of Gold. But you and I actually met years ago at the Hollywood tapings when Marquez was producing the NWA show. Mm-hmm. And that was when he wasn't he wasn't part of the actual. He wasn't leadership for the NWA, but at the time, Marquez was kind of, if he said it, it was happening. And you were there. You saw guys like Adam Pearce and Blue Demon Jr., obviously. And then during that time, when you saw world champions of that caliber, that material, do you feel like Nick Aldis stands up in the same categories as those guys, or do you think maybe he's even higher, or how do you see that projection?
I don't like to compare beyond. If you look at the list of guys who've held the 10 pounds of gold or the NWA world title, it's probably stacked up with the prior to, I would say, 2006, like WWE title list. Like, it's a very strong list. And I would say the Ring of Honor list is equally as strong. Nick fits as much with Adam Pearce as he does Jack Briscoe. And, there's a responsibility. I'm not going to use the word blemishes. Those on the list that didn't carry the standard and made it about themselves ultimately will not stand the test of time in history.
Right.
Adam Pearce, to this day, bleeds 10 pounds of gold. It's his favorite picture to post because he was the standard bearer. And he's very much like Nick, because Nick was the standard bearer in a time that nobody gave it credit. I remember when Nick won the title at CZW, the initial hot take reaction. Why would they do it there? Ugh, Magnus, and you know me, you spend enough time with me. I'm like, just wait. Same with Tim Storm. Everybody thought we were going to take this old teacher and beat him in 12 seconds. They didn't even know who he was going to work with. And, I look for the best in people, and to a fault, we like to give opportunities for people to prove themselves and be a part of this team. And, like Adam, I wish Adam Pearce was available. He would fit like a glove in this world. So, people like Adam, I wouldn't be still in wrestling if it wasn't for Adam Pearce. And as I've said multiple times, I pitched him 10 pounds of gold in 2009. Basically, at the time, I had one of those flip cameras, and I was like, you should document every one of your defenses. And he instead I gave him my camera one week, and he instead made Win a Date with Todd Sinclair, which was a YouTube video that we made. So, which is a great piece of video because it's him and Daniel Bryan and Becky Bayless and a bunch of people at I think it was actually at the NWA Legends Convention back in the day. So anyway, but to me, that list is special. If you're on that list, you carry a large responsibility, and there were a couple people on that list that made it about themselves and not the legacy of the company.
So when we talk about the legacy of the company, obviously, when we were kind of want to focus back now, circle around. So we have the NWA Power, which is your episodic TV show. You guys will be back in the. Wow, I can't talk all of a sudden.
New episodes December 17th.
Thank you. I had a stroke there or something. I don't know. So we got new episodes coming.
Do you smell toast?
No, but I taste butter, so that's not good. So NWA Power comes back on the 17th. We've got new host. We've got obviously Joe Galley will still be in the booth, and he'll be joined by Stu Bennett, formerly known as Wade Barrett, and you were talking about conspiracy theories, and I do have to throw this out here because this is one that someone actually told me, and I just kind of thought. I don't think Lagana and Billy Corgan are that nefarious, but the concept was, there was that photo that they posted on social media a while ago about, Wade Barrett meeting Billy Corgan at that Smashing Pumpkins concert. Maybe it was a Billy Corgan solo show. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. They said, well, it's obvious now. They purposely got Cornette, fired. And I keep saying, hey, he didn't get fired. He quit. They let that happen so that they could bring Barrett in without anybody being upset that they let go of Cornette.
I'd like whoever that person is to reach out to me and explain to me why I would do that.
Yeah.
It's just like we said, it's probably the same type of people who think I did this to help WWE. Some people have. I love fantasy booking. I love fantasy booking of my own life. That is spectacular. No. My relationship with Wade Barrett dates back 2 years, meaning we have mutual friends, PJ Black and a bunch of others. When we first started 10 pounds of gold. I think it was during it was even before All In. He had sent me a nice message on Twitter. I really enjoy what you're doing. And I called him. I said, what are you doing? Would you be interested? And he said, I don't want to wrestle anymore. I said, okay. And we stayed in touch. Yeah, he came to Billy's show because it was in LA. He lives in LA. And that was it. The fact that I would put myself through 2 horrible weeks, like, come on. Like people are, the amount of ridiculousness in this has been, it's sad. Like here we are 3 weeks later and people are still going on about it. It was a mistake happened on both ends. Jim's decision was he didn't think he did anything wrong. He didn't want to do what we would hope to basically, it's a very similar situation to a situation we had with the Briscoes. Basically what we felt was right at the time for Jim to fully apologize in that moment on that Wednesday and to take a break and just simply basically it wasn't a suspension because Jim is paid per day, just take a break and then reevaluate what his role was going to be. And that, well, you fired him, you pushed him out. No, Jim decided this wasn't fun anymore. And I took a lot of flack for hiring Jim, but I saw the good in what Jim was doing. And I understand all the bad. And a lot of people will forever be mad that we even worked with him. But I would think everyone deserves a chance. And Jim, when Jim refused to apologize, he decided that this wasn't fun anymore. And that was his decision. So,
right.
But the conspiracy that we let it happen, I mean, come on.
So then my next question is, because we are talking about Cornette, obviously he gave his whole side of the story on his podcast. Would you say that was just an accurate representation? It seems like there was, although there was a lot of hostility in that moment, it seems like the way that you guys, especially with Gally's thank you and appreciation during the show, and the way you guys let that edit, air out, and it didn't really cut him from the broadcast. It seems like there weren't hard feelings on your end, and according to Cornette, it seems like after he initially talked to you, when he cooled down, he was done, but he was also very complimentary of the show and urged his fans to continue to watch. Do you feel like that the way he described the events of what happened were adequate, were fair?
Yeah, Jim was pretty accurate. It's a conversation that I wish neither one of us needed to have, but I was very clear and upfront the reason why we were having it, and we had a disagreement on. His point was you all heard it. Well, Jim said a lot of stuff. There was stuff taken out that Jim had said that was unairable in different ways. That doesn't help talent. The Thunder Rosa drums were put in because his take on what was happening wasn't the right take. So I took out and I put the drums in and they ended up sticking. It's just right. By the way, we give freedoms to all talents to say stuff like the Eddie Kingston stabbing thing. I bleeped that. I wasn't going to bleep the Sandoval chant, stab him up. But, we give talents an opportunity. And and that's why we've changed our post process. Again, this is all bootstrapped. I wish we had $1 billion. It's funny. The NWA is the only wrestling company not backed by a billionaire. Think about that. WWE is backed by a billionaire. Impact backed by a billionaire. AEW backed by a billionaire, and Ring of Honor backed by $1 billion company. They're all backed by billionaires. And, we're literally, as the whole company is Billy, Maureen, and our talent. Right. And Josephus, as a producer, and so mistakes will happen. The crucifixion over the mistake is just you show me someone who's never made a mistake and I'll show you a liar.
Well, and I think a lot of that too, because we talked about this on my podcast, on the Alliance Guys podcast, and obviously two of the guys that used to do the show with me are taking a break from the NWA because they aren't happy with you. They aren't happy with the way that this was handled, and they think that if there was anyone to fall on the sword, it should have been you.
I did,
and my thought was,
I did.
Yeah,
no one person felt any worse about it than me because it affected all of our talents. People wanted me to resign. Okay, there's no company if I resign.
That was the argument that I made. I said, you guys do know that this is Billy's company, but if you subtract David Lagana from the equation, you've got nothing.
Well,
Like,
and I'm
I'm
sorry that they
anybody.
can't forgive a mistake, and I hope for God that these two people never make a mistake in their life. I really do. A mistake happened, but like the constant like what is going? And I'll be very clear. What is going on in their life that they're fixated on this? That's my point.
Well,
like what is like people like we apologize in the moment. We took it down. We took it out. So then it becomes a witch hunt. Well, why did it happen? Because it happened. And the purity of the people that are casting stones, and I'm not even a religious person. It's just like, what's going on in your world that you can be mad for a minute, you can be mad for 10 minutes. Like it was a mistake. We corrected it. We apologized. They didn't like how we apologized. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So please, if you're in that moment, what do you do?
Well, and that's the thing. I think you were damned if you do, damned if you don't, because the mistake happened.
Yep.
And then you had a crowd of people who, let's face it, when you picked Jim Cornette, you already upset a crowd of people.
Yes.
And it's mostly that cancel culture. One of the things that one of the guys that used to do the podcast with me said was, you listen to the whims of the cancel culture, who half those people don't even watch your show. And I said, well,
but by the way, here to be very clear on what happened with Jim, it was not about this singular thing. It was Jim's consistent desire to continue to put himself instead of the brand. That's it. And Jim understood that. Yeah. And like he wasn't. It wasn't that. It was what would happen next. And he didn't understand the bad publicity he was bringing. Not even about Billy and I, to the talents. Trevor Murdoch got hurt with this. Melina got hurt by this. Nick Aldous got hurt by this. And Jim didn't see that. And instead, and he said it. Should have been out? Sure. You tell me. And it's not. So to me, it's a very hard situation that, you know, and then Jim tells his audience to support the show, and they go the other way and want me hung and spam the show, again, hurting Melina and Thunder Rosa. And they're fans of Jim's. Right. They're fans of Jim's only, and Jim made the show. And I'm sorry, this is a team. And if you don't want to be on the team, then you're not on the team. And Jim was very clear. He goes, I make 4% from you. Okay. If you want to do you, do you. And that's fine. If you don't want to be, and he didn't want to be here.
The two questions. Sorry, I got caught up in a thought there. My first question is, when you brought that video down, obviously those live viewings, you're getting between 8,000, 9,000 people watching that program, and I know that the YouTube channel doesn't fund the business, but it certainly
we lost 42,000 views.
Right, and when you look at you can go to a website like socialblade.com, and they give projections about how much maximum value versus minimum value, what you're making a month, what you're making a year, and they're projecting that the NWA YouTube channel, according to Social Blade, says you guys make anywhere from $304 to almost $5,000 a month.
No, I'm not going to disclose what we make, but it's closer to the second number than the first number. So
sure, and I'm not asking you to, but obviously by taking that video down, you guys took a hit. 48,000 views is still 48,000 views, and
but we did the right thing in that moment in the decision. I had 12 minutes to get Billy's consult before he went on stage and before I had to do my other job that funds the whole company. It was a decision was made. I don't regret what we did. We should have caught it. Yes. I don't regret what we did, how we handled it.
And if you, not that anyone cares what I think, but I thought it was a classy move the way you guys said thank you. And I felt like that's it. It was good closure. Time to move on. Mm-hmm. And I'll be completely honest. I've never been a guy who's watched a wrestling program based on the guy calling the matches. I mean, I was watching Raw with Mike Adamle. I'm okay with the announcer either being terrible or amazing. It never really.
He's part of the team.
Never shaped.
Jim was a part of the team, and he decided he didn't want to be a part of the team, and that was his decision. And guess what? It's my decision to do this interview with you. I made the decision because you've been fair to us. If your other co-hosts quit because of it, then that's their decision. You have to decide between you and whatever being or higher power that what you make decisions for. And, again, we had people that were upset, and that's their decision. Like, if they don't want to give us time anymore, that is their decision. There's plenty of decisions we make on a daily basis.
Tell me about the reemergence of Trevor Murdoch. This is a guy who, obviously, you've known him for years. He was a part of those NWA Hollywood tapings back at the Columbia Square studio. Him and Cade, he looked great then. He looks great now. Still just that mean, ornery guy. And are you surprised how much the crowd has reacted to him? Have you been impressed with his abilities in the ring? Is he what you expected to get when he decided to come be a part of the show?
When I booked him, he wasn't even supposed to wrestle. When I booked him, it was, hey, just come to the tapings. I said, we booked him at Harley Races, the thing after the wake. He was there. I'm like, are you wrestling? He goes, I'm just training. I was like, well, come be an agent. I said, calm down. I said, we'll give you a match or two if you want. I said, you get yourself in whatever shape you want and we'll figure it out. And he showed up in good shape, said, I want to work. I said, okay. And we put him in and he over-delivered. He really over-delivered. He is classically trained. Nick Aldous said that guy is, everything he does is crisp, on point. You can't see through it. He is everything you would want in pro wrestling. It's one of the reasons why the whole Cornette thing was so disappointing, because it took away from this amazing match with him and Trevor. Trevor's gonna be a big part of this, and because we gave him a chance when nobody else would. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, and the work he does, and I'm excited to work with talents like that. Same with Aaron Stevens, same with Molina, same with Colt Cabana. All these people that I have decades of experience with, who have worked in various companies, and everybody had fun. And you were at those shows, and it's, I was at Crockett Cup and go, boy, that's probably the best show I'll ever do. I could probably retire, and some will be very happy, because I've ruined wrestling again. Like I ruined wrestling in 2003, in 2008, when I went to Ring of Honor, when I went to TNA, but like giving talents an opportunity, and to create a show like this that nobody saw coming. And it's not like we had to we knew this is going to work. We had no idea. So to give these people this opportunity and be happy, and that's what I mean. We have a very happy locker room.
Has there been any more diamonds in the rough that because you just pointed out three obvious candidates. Aaron Stevens, kind of faded away from Impact Wrestling and kind of unceremoniously. Molina, she had kind of stepped away from in-ring competition. And Trevor, is there more people out there that you're scouting, or how does, how are you?
I'm always looking. That's why Circle Squared was created. That's why one of the reasons I had to wait for a minute. I was negotiating a stunt casting for Circle Squared that I think people will be it's going to be, the show, like Power, will evolve. Will it be perfect? No. Will there be mistakes? Yes. Will people be outraged? Probably. But this is about finding a new way. And you've spent now time in YouTube. I've pushed you hard into it to understand what is really possible there. Same with Gary and Adam. I'm not preaching anything that I'm not also doing myself. Right. And look at the success the Young Bucks had with their YouTube show, and now it's more people watch TNT every week than watch Being the Elite, and things expand. But this show, it's hard to say. It's not that it's not made for YouTube, but there's never been in a wrestling show like this on YouTube, which is why it stands out. And AEW Dark, great show. It's their product. If you slice down what just on a if you take 10% of what their budget is for, basically because they're producing at the same time as Dynamite, if you say it's 10% of whatever the overall Dynamite budget is, they're still beating us by 6 times on what we're spending on each episode of Power, just on AEW Dark.
Sure.
So, and then people that compare the numbers, well, AEW Dark did 600,000 and NWA Power did 250,000. Yeah, I'm spending 30 times less.
Yeah.
So it's but people want to compare and contrast, and you can't do that. You just can't. And so also, back to my circus, my monkey, focusing on our world. Will there be talents available? Nobody, The talents that are on our show were not picked up by AEW. They were not picked up by WWE, and they all fit our game plan because we're not trying to be NXT and AEW. We're trying to be a promotion full of big guys who can talk, talented women who can execute, and a really strong roster that all have passion and want to do something amazing.
Do you think some of the talent that work for you because they were not picked up by WWE or AEW or even to a lesser extent Impact or Ring of Honor, do you think that put a chip on their shoulder and maybe that is driving?
I think we all have something to prove, just like you have something to prove, just like everybody has something to prove. Every day you get an opportunity. And people get upset. Like, I never try and focus on, oh, well, that guy's going back to WWE. Well, good for them. I know what it's like to work there. That doesn't interest me because I know what we're able to create here. And again, happy for people to have thoughts on what we've done. Boy, this is a hard job. Every job is hard. Being a parent is a hard job. Being a husband is a hard job. Think about every decision you make every day. Should I pick up this pen? Should I use a red pen, a green pen? Where should I eat for lunch? If I go here, eat for lunch, and I cross the street, get hit by a car, boy, I wish I would have had tacos. I wouldn't have got hit by the car. Like, you just, like, you get into this nexus or matrix of like second guessing. You got to just go with what you think. And so these are the talents available. Hey, are you interested? Same with my first phone call to Nick Aldous. This is what we're looking to do. Told him exactly what we're looking to do. And I was clear with you from day one. This is what I want to do. Has what I told you on day one deviated at all?
No. And it's kind of funny because I had this conversation the other day with a friend who's familiar with the brand, and he says, I don't believe in a 20-year plan. And I said, but you don't have to believe in it. That's fine. You don't have to, you don't have to buy in because you're not part of that process. But the things that I was told initially before the announcement was made, those things have come to fruition, and it's everything that's been said. And I told this person, I said, I really believe All In kind of pushed the plan even forward a little bit faster, but I think this is exactly where they wanted to be, and this is exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to do the TV show in Atlanta. Damn it, you guys are in Atlanta. They wanted to do a 1-hour episodic television that paid homage to the Jim Crockett Promotions. Damn it, that's what you guys are doing, and it's kind of baffling to me. Like, people are going to question, well,
it's why aren't you running and why aren't you on television? Why aren't you running big arenas like AEW? That's their plan. I ran models. Billy said something really interesting. If you go back and watch All In Coming, there's an episode that covers the rise of the elite guys and the rise of us side by side. And Billy says this great line about these different rebel forces that are all separate, but it came together to work for All In. And there's the big, basically he wanted to say Death Star, but monolithic starship of WWE. And that if all these little rebel groups work together, you got one shot. But what happened? The groups didn't work together. They actually all went their separate ways. On All In, what ultimately became All Elite, there were some Impact people. There was New Japan. There was Ring of Honor. And there was us. There are 5 promotions that provided talent for that singular show. And the one less, and they became 5 singular promotions who don't work. We work with Ring of Honor for 8 months after, and a decision was made for us to focus on our world because we knew what we wanted to do with Power, even though everyone didn't believe us when we said we were leaving. Shocker, doubt slips into people's minds very easily when it comes to us, always, and that's fine. That's their way. So it would have been really interesting if everyone would have worked. Can you imagine what Dynamite would be like if everybody worked together?
Well, sure.
And I don't know what's holding that back.
Ego.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest, right? You have a vision of what Power should be, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure Cody and Khan and everyone that's involved with AEW Creative, they have their vision, and the guys at Impact, they have their vision, and everyone has their own way of doing things, and nobody is necessarily right, nobody's necessarily wrong. It's just different.
Well, and that's it's a choice. By the way, I hope at any time anyone can walk out and cut a promo on Power, and I don't care where they work. I would love to see Triple H walk out on the set on Power. I'd love to see Cody. I would love to see I don't know, Ethan Page. I'd love to see. I'm trying to think of like, Jay Lethal. I think what we've created with Power is built an environment very similar to the ECW arena that you hope that you go there and you're pleasantly surprised and entertained and you get your dollar value. Are you coming to this event or no? This
No.
run or no? Okay, so
No, too close to Christmas.
of course, and but the idea is and why a lot of people, why are you running GPB for the pay-per-view? You should have went somewhere bigger. Okay, it's a cost difference. I'm already like, I'd love to run the Phillips Arena. One, we're not going to sell 19,000 tickets, and two, the logistical costs of doing it. I want this brand to be around, and I've never seen a group of people want it to be what it's not, what it can't be. And
Right.
know where it was when we got it. And a lot of the stories that I've kind of hinted at and how dumb a lot of the people were in this process. And it took a very long rebuilding process to get people interested again. And here we are, having talked to every promotion. The belts literally appeared, the belt or talent have appeared almost in every company minus, Cody was in New Japan with the belt, except for WWE, right?
Right.
Like Ring of Honor, not AEW, but All Elite, basically the all-in event. We've
Right.
been able to work with a lot of people because we're very clear about what we want. I call it talent. I call Melina. This is what I'd like. We'll do 1 day, and like she worked for 1 day, and I said work the pay-per-view in the next set. I have an option for the pay-per-view, and she's now with us much longer term because she didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I knew what Rosa could do. I told her to be patient with me. I said, so she was there the first day, and all she did was slide in the ring. That's all she did the first day. And she was just like, oh, let me do something. I said, tomorrow. I said, you're the hammer. And boy, was she the hammer. That's all the direction. She never had been directed. They just told her, go do whatever. And I love that talents can do whatever, but they need direction. We all need direction. You need direction.
Right. And I think it's so funny because I like Alison Kay quite a bit. I was very impressed with her from the Crockett Cup. I love her promos. I liken her to like a female Stone Cold Steve Austin. She just gets out there and says whatever's on her mind, and I think she's a perfect fit for what you guys are doing. But I wasn't in love with your ladies division, but when Thunder Rosa showed up, I certainly felt like she made such a huge impact. And now you've got these two kind of conflicting personalities, and it'll be interesting to see how you guys are going to tell this story from Melina, from Marty, for Thunder Rosa, for Ashley, for Allison. It's going to be very interesting how you guys play this out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
our females were all picked for these roles, and even how the crowd took to Rosa is a little different than I thought. So we're very adaptable in our storytelling, just like the question mark. You guys decided the question mark was going to go a completely different direction than was intended, and the talents basically shifted it. So, they learned like Aaron Stevens decided to do Miz and Mizdow to solve the issue of the crowd's reaction to question mark. That's very smart talents, and no one's talking about that. They're focusing on one other decision. This is about our talents, and I hate that Billy and I are in the front part of this because we don't want to be.
Right.
And it's funny. I'll simply say one thing. Some of the people that are heavily criticizing and going after us have applied for high-level jobs at other companies because they want to be involved, and that's fine. That's their thing. But they have to realize what they're getting into if they ever actually get those jobs. And it's like this in every company. There's politics at the McDonald's down the street. Like there's politics in their jobs, and I understand this is their escape, and that's great. And I'm very happy, and I hope to create a program that they enjoy. If they don't enjoy it, great. They don't have to watch it. If they want to hate me, great. They can invest that energy. There was that quote, swallowing poison and hoping somebody else dies is a bad waste of time. The quote's all fucked up, but it's one of my favorite quotes. Putting negativity into your own life about somebody else's decisions. What are you doing? Yeah. I love the Eagles, and they have a bad game on Sunday. I don't curse the coach and hope he gets fired and like okay, they lost. I love them, but I'm not gonna people carry the stress around. I'm just like, why are you doing it? Like where's the upside? Where's the upside in it?
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, and that's the thing too. Wrestling's supposed to be fun, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of, at least from the fans' perspective, it's like, why did they let the fun leave? And
Well, it's their decision. So
no, it absolutely is. Like I live in my world where, to be perfectly frank, the only wrestling I actually watch is NWA Power and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And on occasion, I'll see clips from NXT or I'll see clips from WWE programming or All Elite programming. I mean, I love Scorpio Sky. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers that's wrestling today. I'm so happy for the success he's having. I haven't really watched All Elite Wrestling, but I wish him continued success.
That's your decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's your decision.
And so I kind of want to circle back to, you mentioned that there's new programming coming to the network of family. Of course, the 10 pounds of gold, you identified that's going to be like for big match events. It was never meant to be a TV show, but more of documenting the process of how to get to that pay-per-view, how to get to that big match.
Yeah, it's a much long, like, I understood the feedback from those who didn't like the Rosa Doc in Power. It should have been 2 minutes instead of 2 6-minute ones. But okay, great. We learned from it, whatever. But like to me, these shows, this program skew is about figuring out what audiences, how they want to deep dive and get into it. So, so 10 pounds will always exist in a format. I'm going to go shoot Nick Aldous after you and I get off the phone. I'm telling Nick that you're making me wait, or you're making him wait. So he's not going to be pleased with you. But it's, for us, it's fine. So like Circle Squared will be a reality show. How?
Okay.
Well, you'll have to tune in and see how we execute that show. It's, all of these shows have different approaches because I want to find different ways to expose and entertain and put talents out in the open.
Now, is this, you just said how it's going to be made available is still kind of under wraps, but is it going to be a process? Is it going to be part of
it will not
Power?
It will not air in Power. We'll start.
Okay, so it will be its own separate entity. Okay.
Yes, and it won't be will it be YouTube exclusive? Maybe. Will it be Facebook? It won't be just on Facebook because Facebook video views are weird. Which is one of the reasons Facebook's a very weird platform. As far as video wise, they're not YouTube.
Right.
People don't watch videos on. Tell me the last long form video you watched on Facebook. Nobody does. Sorry, I'm just charging some equipment.
No worries.
But like it will be just like Power, although Power was obviously a lot more formatted as we dove into making it. This show is going to be a little bit more free form. And what Billy said in the video, you'll get to cut a promo, you get to have a match, and the live audience will speak, and Billy will make a decision. And if somebody is spectacular, they'll get a developmental contract. And we're gonna expose talent, and we're gonna see what they do. And it was created because I've had every Tom, Dick, and Harry and all 75 referees email me wanting an opportunity, and they want I want to come hang out. Well, I don't need people. I don't need people cluttering up backstage. And when WWE used to hold tryouts at shows, people just sit in catering, and that's not a good fair representation of how talents can be evaluated.
Right.
So for us to carve out, we're going to do probably one less episode of Power and devote that time to exposing new talent and give them a platform in our world to get exposed. I think that's worth it. If you were a talent, you would want that opportunity. And if you're great, just like Thunder Rosa, who went from having a C deal to an A deal because of her talent. And basically every talent knows we have the option to enact, basically, like, you don't appear on this show without agreeing to the terms, and so if it's not for you, brother, then cool, no issue.
Brother.
So that's the incarnation of this show. There will be, we obviously explored a lot of the secondary interviews that weren't at the podium. I thought those turned out well. The Nick Aldous one with Camille on the clickbait episode, the Melina one that I thought was good, Tim Storm, we're going to expand that into a much different, so that content skew will have long. So if, for example, the Nick Aldous Camille interview with with Joe Galley was 6 minutes, I think, on the show.
Right.
But I think using Joe Rogan as a example, Joe Rogan sometimes talks for 2 hours, but then he chops it up into clips. So we're going to explore, like, because I think you would be interested more on Thunder Rosa. My favorite too is like, oh, you killed her character. No, we didn't kill her character. We expanded. You may not agree with it, and that's your choice as a consumer. But we want to have a 360 view on who these people are, because they are real people. And in a business, now, and with audiences now, never more than ever pushing, well, you should have done this. Well, then you're never going to make everybody happy. So you have to then build out these characters that have broad-based appeal, and you know their motivations from a realistic part. Thunder Rosa wanted to do that fight. Why wouldn't I cover it?
Absolutely.
So anyway, so that our skew is to help build out these profiles for these talents.
I've got like 100 more questions I want to ask you, but I know
you
Nick
have
is
three more. I don't know. I'm gonna tell Nick you're making him wait. So
all right. So then I'll narrow it down to these 3 questions, because I think this is with Thunder Rosa, and then the other 2 that I have. Okay, so for Thunder Rosa, now again, I'm all on board with Thunder Rosa. Mel Cervantes has knocked it out of the park. My question to you though is, you're blending the reality with the fantasy, the show, and the reality of the MMA. Are you guys painting yourself into a corner now? Because it turns out she's a wonderful human being and sweet and loving and just an amazing person, but she's portrayed as this, for all intents and purposes, a bitch. She's mean. She's hurtful. She's evil. Is it hard to walk that balance in terms of creative? I mean, the fans love her already, and I know that the fans kind of help dictate the story development and the way the characters are growing on your show. Does this change things for you guys in terms of how she's going to be portrayed in the future?
Tell me what she did that was evil.
See, and that's the other thing too. Attacking Alison Kay, turning Alison Kay's buddy against her.
I think she sees the good in Marty Bell, and she simply offered. By the way, she didn't. She offered Marty Bell the week before to join her, and when we look at it very differently, and
sure.
And so, for example, look at it from Thunder Rosa's character perspective. Here comes Alison Kay, who is crapping on Marty Bell, who she's trying to help in the moment. Well, look at what Alison's saying. Alison didn't come out and say, "Oh, Marty, you're right. I made a mistake." She was being the very defiant person that Alison Kay is, the character. Our characters work based upon motivation. You might not agree with the motivation, but the same with Melina. Now, did they take advantage of a 3-on-1? Sure. And it'll be very interesting to see where the story goes. But that's what I'm like, people, you killed her character. She is a very unique character, and I'd rather you ask questions. And I think you know characters where you know what they'll do, and it's boring and predictable. Or worse, you have no idea what they're going to do, and it's just kind of like, oh, whatever. So
well, and I think the other thing too, and you hinted at, or you flat out said it earlier, just wait, because we're only talking about 8 hours of or 9 hours of programming. We're only talking about maybe 6 shows that she's appeared on. So I know things will flesh out and things change. I don't think you could kill a character in that short amount of time.
Didn't you read the internet? I worked for WWE, and I killed these characters because I'm twirling my mustache, and I knew I had Stu Bennett. Think about the logic that people and think about it. So far, we killed Thunder Rosa's character, set Jim up because we had Stu waiting. Like, come on, like it's ridiculous, and it's silly, and I wish those people find it. You don't enjoy it, cool. There's plenty of other, not even just wrestling. There's plenty out there. You can download a book right now and listen to it. I grew up in the VHS tape trading era, and boy, I was so happy when a new tape came in. Now you can have everything, and you're still not happy.
Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, Thunder Rosa's happy. If the talent's happy and we're happy, and then the audience is reacting, I don't know this nefarious, faceless person that isn't happy, and we killed their character because they were a bad guy and then they were a good guy. Tell me somebody in the world that is 100% a good guy.
That's fair. That's fair.
There isn't. And like the whole, like it's the mistake thing. Everybody makes mistakes. So everybody has flaws. Great. John Cena doesn't have flaws.
He has them. You just can't see them.
Yes, exactly. So,
I've got one last thing for you, and then
Nick's asking where I am. I'm letting him know I'm burying you hard. So
that's fine. He already doesn't put over the podcast anyway. So,
well, you're not Gary Horn.
I guess not.
You don't have a cool beard like Gary.
I'm working on it. I've got gray hair, so I thought that might get me some more clout.
No, it gets you the Tim Storm AARP discount at the Denny's.
I'll take it. Me and Tim will go have a grand slam on our birthdays.
A moon's over my hammy.
There you go. Episode 8. I said from day one that I thought there was going to be a light episode. And the reason why I said that is because I know that you guys filmed 9 weeks of television over an 8-hour period. There's 10 weeks leading up from the first episode to the pay-per-view. My first question was I correct? Was there always supposed to be a light episode? 2.
To answer your question, as Jim supposedly will say on his podcast this week, episode 8 was always supposed to be episode 8.
Okay.
But there's no convincing those who believe that I also I don't know, I can't even think of a bad analogy, that my nefarious actions of conspiracy that I didn't do. That show was not re-edited at all. The only thing I added was the Thunder Rosa doc because I felt like it deserved the views.
Yeah.
Obviously, and those people who found it boring, who spammed it, that was their decision. And that's fine. They're allowed to do what they want with their time. But that episode was always supposed to be that.
I was critical of the episode. I wasn't a fan of it, and I've told you that. I think I don't know, was that episode planned that way because there was not enough footage shot, or was it? No,
it was always supposed to be the setup for the season finale.
Okay, and so going into this, you knew from right away, because I do remember you saying there was going to be 9 weeks of television, so there was always going to be that break between the last episode and the pay-per-view.
Yep,
that was your intention all along, right?
Yes, I can show you the format. That's my favorite parts. Like this, like the amount of energy into this is like. And by the way, yes, okay, that should that not have been not an episode of Power? Okay, yeah. But by the way, we conceived this before the first episode of Power had aired, and we didn't know if anyone would like the show.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
No, it doesn't. Just ask people on the internet.
I think you do have to be happy with the reaction that people gave you guys for episode 9. Obviously, the cat was out of the bag long ago. The Rock and Roll Express, obviously, people knew that they had already won the tag team titles. The show did feature a lot of footage from the WrestleCade. Obviously, I don't think you knew 10 weeks ago that would be part of your format for this show, but I think you were able to work that in. And I will tell you this, and you please tell this to James and Nick, that their promos, I think, were 2 of the most powerful pieces of promos that you guys showed on NWA Power. And I think based on those promos alone, that if someone was on the fence about buying the show, I think those promos probably sold them a ticket, sold them a pay-per-view.
The conspiracy on why the 3-way didn't air, and I know I saw you post about it because how great it was. One day you and I will have a discussion on why it wasn't great. And why it wasn't best for the story. And I felt Nick and James did very good in explaining why it didn't air.
I thought so too.
And it plays into the conspiracy story. Why haven't we ever covered the pop-up event?
Yeah, sure.
Like that's part of this story. By the way, Billy and James don't hang out. They don't talk very often. I deal with James. I get to be good cop, bad cop at times with a lot of talents. And James is difficult to deal with. He knows that, and it's how he's been so successful. Nick can be difficult to deal with. You've dealt with him. This is how, by the way, this is real conflict. As you can see in the interviews, they don't like each other very much. And that will come through in this match. And that's very true. They have never got they're never going to be two guys that go on a 6-hour road trip together. But guess what? That's why people watch. I watch things for conflict. I love when the Eagles play the Cowboys because I know Cowboy fans are asses and I'm an ass, and like we like conflict. This everybody gets along world, like that's not a real world we live in.
Sure.
So like their promos were great. You know, a strategic decision was made to sell this pay-per-view, and I stand by the decision we made. And obviously, some people wish they would see the three-way. Gary Horn just slid into my DMs, brother, what's going on with this three-way? Which I love Gary, and then we have great DM conversations, you know, and he wants scoops and with a Z and belts with a Z. And no, you want belts with a Z. As I'm walking around my apartment, I have the old Tharp belts, the North American belt, the tag belt, the national title, and the junior title that I had to literally get a cop to get it back for me.
The only belt that I love is that North American title that was on WWF programming back in 1998.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Yeah, that one, so. Some lucky guy got that one. I don't know,
but I like where we are, and guess what? We're going to continue to expand, and we're going to continue to do stuff differently. Just like the clickbait episode, as I've said in multiple interviews, that episode morphed when we really looked into, what it was and what we were trying to execute. That interview wasn't supposed to be last, and we ended up making it last. So
right.
So.
I know you have to go, and we'll end this right now.
76 minutes and 56 seconds, buddy.
Well, and I thank you for your time, and I'll Venmo you that other half of the payment now that
it's $1 a minute. I'm now charging $1 a minute for podcast interviews.
You're cheap.
No shit.
Joey Ryan didn't want to double that.
Of course, there's Joey Ryan. There's Joey Ryan.
That's right. What can we expect from this pay-per-view? I know, like, you're not going to tell me who's going to. You
want the winners and losers?
No.
You want the surprises?
I do want the surprises. Who's going to show up?
It'll be cool, right?
Adam Rotella.
Adam Rotella will be there. I made sure that Adam Rotella will be there.
Oh, I have a rule.
Yeah, you heard.
Yeah, I heard. So, all right. Well, hey, I again thank you for your time, Mr. David Lagana. I know you're busy. Give Nick my best. Happy holidays to you. I won't see you this time around, but maybe in February or whenever the next tapings are announced.
Cool.
I'll see you then.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Bye.